Similar to previous PAs, Polly has prepared a number of examples to help lead the way. And we do have 3 examples this time. First example is called the HTTP response as a string. This is taking the native string approach, very much like the second example in PA7, or the string-request.go example. If you recall in there, what we do is we actually read the HTTP request messages one line at a time as a string, and then go back and review the HTTP request format and find out where the path in the file name is. Similarly, the goal of PA8 is to generate an HTTP response message. So this native string approach is essentially saying that we'll be generating the HTTP response message from scratch, one line at a time. So you do need to review the response message format, okay, so that you could generate the message and the existing web browsers will be able to understand and therefore render the object or the message we send back on the screen of the browser accordingly. So this again is slightly tedious. You might need to type up more lines in your PA8.go, but it's in fact straightforward. Okay. So let's now go ahead and start examining this example, string-response.go. And in the string-response.go, make sure you copy and paste the whole block of code here. Let's give it a run before coming back to the source code. So first replace the port number of the example, and then start the example server first, and then try to connect to the server using an existing web browser. Chrome, Firefox, or Curl, whichever you prefer. And then let's use this URL, http://127.0.0.1, that is localhost, meaning the same machine you're running the server, and the port number. So once you do that, curl 127.0.0.1, the port number, yes, the server actually sends back a message saying file not found. And this is when the curl, the web browser, displays the message on the screen, at the client side. If you're using the web browser, your web browser should also display file not found, on the screen, again, on the client side. And by the way, the output is going to be just file not found, no matter what URL you're using to do the testing, because that example there, no matter what the request is simply sending back a 404 not found message. And let's go back to the code. If you read in the main function, so the first 5 lines are actually the usual suspects. Starting the listening socket, and then accepting the dial request from the client and generate a data socket. And we use this data socket to read the HTTP request message. Yeah, I know. You see that I'm calling http.read_request. So this is the reading request as a request, capital R approach. Yeah, sorry to do this. This is just so that I make the example a bit shorter. So I could actually just do req.method here to get the method of this HTTP request message. Yep, but you will see in the example here, what I'm doing is actually, whatever the request I receive, I'll just ignore it. And all I'm doing is just printing the same message back to the server again and again. This is what the HTTP 404 file not found response. And date column space ... This is the header line. So I actually didn't bother finding out what is the exact date and time, and I'm just using ... here. So just to check whether each of these web browsers we're connecting to, whether they will be able to take this as a legal header line. And this is an empty line so that we break the header line fields from the data. And the data is obviously text, and there's just one string of text, file not found. And the last empty line is to close the entire HTTP response message. And that is why Yeah, I say when we're doing the test run, okay, no matter what the URL is, yeah, the result is just going to be file not found, okay, at the browser. Now let's demo the example, string response.go. This is Poly's PA8 directory. So you see here, Poly has already had the string response.go typed up. So I can just do go run string response.go. All right, server started. And on the client side, I'm just going to use curl. And I need to curl to the IP address and the port number of where the server is running. And I'm running on the local machine, so I can just, say 127.0.0.1 here. Okay, this is an IP address that refers always to the local host. And then I'm on port 11999. So this is all as a URL. And there we see the server string response.go is actually returning a line, file not found. And curl here, receiving that response message, actually displays only the content in the data field, file not found. If we try it again, you see here, I do have server test.html in the server's home directory. So if I do this, so what would be the outcome? Well, I will still get file not found because string response here, string response.go here is only what? Generating the 404 file not found response. It's actually not grabbing the server test.html object and send the whole object back to the browser. Therefore, browser is only receiving this message saying file not found in the data field and displays only file not found. Last few bits to talk about are these. The response message Poly sends back is actually generated by calling fmt fprintf 5 times. Each time I'm sending one line through the socket back to the web browser. Now, fmt fprintf is an API that we have already introduced much early on in the hello whoever.go example. So this is the most fundamental API one uses to send data over a socket to the remote side. The web browser receiving these 5 lines will recognize that the first line is the status line. Second line is a header line. It's a little bit lame, right? Because the date is a legitimate header field. But the content there is just ... And that seems to be acceptable. The third is an empty line. That is the line to separate the header from data. There's only one line of data, the fourth line. Last is again an empty line, but according to the message format, last line being again empty, that is to say, this is the end of the response message. Yeah, from Poly's experience, most web browsers, after receiving the first 3 lines, the status line, at least one header line, and an empty line, will recognize such a message as legitimate, and then display whatever is in the data field. Now you go ahead and try with other web browsers. Poly has already tried Chrome, Firefox, curl, and it all works. The browser is going to print file not found. If you find other web browsers not printing file not found, please do let Poly know.